In a stunning turn of events, a $350 billion trade deal between the United States and Indonesia, once considered a cornerstone of modern economic diplomacy, is now on the brink of collapse. The world's attention is riveted as the fate of this massive agreement hangs in the balance, threatening to upend years of careful negotiation and strategic planning. The news has sent shockwaves through global markets, with investors scrambling to assess the potential fallout. Stock exchanges from New York to Tokyo are experiencing heightened volatility as traders react to the uncertainty and the possibility of a major realignment in international trade. This deal was once hailed as a landmark victory for American industries, promising to open new markets and create thousands of jobs. It was also seen as a strategic maneuver to counter China's growing influence in Southeast Asia, strengthening the U.S.'s position in a region critical to global commerce. Now, as the agreement unravels, it exposes just how fragile and complex international partnerships can be, especially when national interests collide. The potential collapse of this deal could have far-reaching consequences, reshaping trade dynamics and alliances not just between the US and Indonesia, but across the entire Southeast Asian region. Countries throughout ASEAN are watching closely, aware that the outcome could alter the balance of economic power and influence future negotiations. For President Trump's administration, the agreement was more than just a trade pact. It was a diplomatic trophy, a symbol of American leadership on the world stage. Now, with talks at a critical impasse, the administration faces mounting pressure to salvage the deal or risk a significant setback in its foreign policy agenda. Headlines are dominated by accusations, last-minute renegotiation attempts and speculation about what went wrong. Economists and analysts are poring over the details, trying to predict how the unraveling of this agreement will impact industries, jobs, and the broader global economy. Both countries are bracing for significant economic shifts, with ripple effects likely to be felt far beyond their borders. As the world watches this high-stakes drama unfold, the teetering deal serves as a stark reminder of the immense challenges involved in forging and maintaining global partnerships. In an era of shifting alliances and rising economic nationalism, the collapse of such a monumental agreement could echo for years to come, shaping the future of international relations and trade. Announced in July 2025, the US-Indonesia trade deal was celebrated as a landmark achievement, hailed by leaders in the media as a turning point in the economic relationship between the two nations. The agreement was the result of months of intense negotiations, with both sides making significant concessions to reach common ground. For many, it symbolized a new era of cooperation and prosperity, promising to reshape the economic landscape of Southeast Asia and strengthen America's presence in the region. President Trump touted it as a huge win, promising vast new markets for American goods and services. He emphasized the deal's potential to create thousands of jobs at home, boost American manufacturing, and open doors for U.S. farmers and tech companies. Indonesian officials echoed this optimism, highlighting the benefits for their own industries and the promise of closer ties with the world's largest economy. Indonesia agreed to eliminate tariffs on 99% of U.S. goods and dismantle non-tariff barriers, boosting U.S. exports in agriculture, manufacturing, and tech. This move was expected to flood Indonesian markets with high-quality American products, from soybeans and corn to advanced machinery and software. In return, Indonesian businesses anticipated greater access to American consumers, especially for textiles, footwear, and electronics. In exchange, the U.S. would lower tariffs on Indonesian products, opening the door for more Indonesian exports. The agreement was designed to be mutually beneficial, with both sides expecting a surge in trade volume and new opportunities for businesses large and small. The deal was seen as a strategic move to counter China's influence and stimulate growth on both sides. Analysts noted that by deepening ties with Indonesia, the U.S. could secure a key ally in Southeast Asia, diversify its supply chains, and reduce dependence on Chinese manufacturing. For Indonesia, the partnership offered a chance to modernize its economy and attract foreign investment. But optimism quickly faded as disagreements over digital trade and a controversial poison pill clause surfaced. The digital trade provisions, meant to protect intellectual property and ensure data privacy, became a sticking point, with both sides accusing each other of overreach. The poison pill clause, designed to prevent either country from signing future trade deals with China, sparked outrage in Jakarta and raised concerns about sovereignty and economic freedom. These cracks set the stage for the current impasse, leaving the future of the deal and the broader US-Indonesia relationship uncertain. What began as a triumph has quickly turned into a test of diplomacy, trust, and the ability of both nations to find common ground amid rising tensions. By December 2025, the US-Indonesia trade deal is teetering on the edge of collapse. What began as a promising partnership, with both nations eager to deepen economic ties and foster mutual growth, has now devolved into a high-stakes standoff. The initial optimism that surrounded the negotiations has all but evaporated, replaced by mounting frustration and mutual suspicion. Both sides now openly accuse each other of negotiating in bad faith, and the atmosphere in the meeting rooms has grown increasingly tense and combative. The sense of hope that once filled the air has been replaced by finger-pointing and heated exchanges. US and Indonesian negotiators, once seen shaking hands and exchanging smiles, now sit across the table with hardened expressions, each side convinced the other is undermining the process. The breakdown in trust has made every new proposal a potential flashpoint, and the smallest misstep threatens to derail months of painstaking work. At the heart of the dispute are several unresolved issues. Indonesia's reluctance to remove non-tariff barriers, such as complex licensing requirements and import quotas, has become a major sticking point. US exporters argue these barriers unfairly restrict access to Indonesia's vast consumer market, while Indonesian officials insist they are necessary to protect local industries and jobs. Another major obstacle is Indonesia's hesitance to commit to new rules on digital trade. The US is pushing for open data flows and fewer restrictions on American tech companies operating in Indonesia, but Jakarta remains wary. Indonesian leaders fear that agreeing to these terms could expose sensitive data and undermine their ability to regulate the digital economy on their own terms. The US has also introduced a controversial poison pill clause designed to prevent Indonesia from entering into similar trade agreements with China. American negotiators argue this is essential to protect US interests in the region, but for Indonesia, it's a red line. They see it as an unacceptable infringement on their economic sovereignty and a move that would limit their freedom to pursue independent trade policies. Indonesian officials have made it clear that they will not sacrifice their autonomy for the sake of a single trade deal. They have repeatedly stated, both in public and behind closed doors, that any agreement must respect Indonesia's right to chart its own economic future. This insistence has only deepened the impasse, with neither side willing to back down. Despite the best efforts of top negotiators, U.S. Trade Representative Jameson Greer and Indonesia's Coordinating Minister for Economic Affairs, Erlangga Hartarto, the gap between the two countries has only widened. Multiple rounds of talks have ended in frustration, with both sides walking away empty-handed and increasingly pessimistic about the prospects for a breakthrough. Even a high-profile summit between President Trump and President Prabowo Subianto, intended as a last-ditch effort to break the deadlock, failed to produce any meaningful progress. The leaders exchanged firm handshakes and strong words for the cameras, but behind the scenes, the fundamental disagreements remained unresolved. Now, with the clock ticking and pressure mounting from business leaders and lawmakers on both sides, U.S. officials are sounding the alarm. They warn that without a dramatic breakthrough, the entire deal could unravel, threatening not just economic ties but the broader strategic relationship between the two countries. Official statements reveal the depth of frustration on both sides. U.S. officials accuse Indonesia of backtracking, with Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent calling Jakarta recalcitrant. The Trump administration fears a failed deal could undermine its Southeast Asia strategy. Indonesian spokesperson Hario Limanseto maintains that negotiation dynamics are normal and hopes for a positive outcome. Indonesian officials point to differences in interpretation, not intent, as the main hurdle. These contrasting narratives highlight the complexity of international negotiations. With the stakes high, both sides face mounting pressure to find common ground. The collapse threatens major economic opportunities for both nations. For the U.S., the deal promised expanded export markets and job growth, especially in agriculture and industry. Without it, American businesses face continued barriers in Indonesia, and tariffs on Indonesian goods could return, raising prices for U.S. consumers. Indonesia risks losing preferential access to the U.S. market, jeopardizing growth and employment. The deal's failure could also limit Indonesia's influence in future regional trade talks. Beyond immediate losses, the collapse could disrupt Southeast Asia's economic integration. The fallout may shape how both countries approach future trade negotiations. Politically, the deal's collapse is a blow to the Trump administration's strategy to counter China in Southeast Asia. The agreement was central to U.S. efforts to build alliances and influence regional policies. Its failure could weaken America's standing and credibility, both abroad and at home. In Indonesia, President Prabowo faces criticism for failing to secure a key international agreement. The setback may prompt calls to rethink Indonesia's trade strategy. Meanwhile, China could seize the opportunity to strengthen its regional influence. The collapse could reshape the strategic landscape of Southeast Asia. The deal's collapse has regional implications far beyond the US and Indonesia. As ASEAN's largest economy, Indonesia's trade moves set precedents for the region. A successful deal could have served as a model for balancing ties with both the US and China. Its failure may discourage other Southeast Asian nations from pursuing similar US agreements, especially with restrictive clauses. ASEAN's broader economic integration efforts could be complicated, prompting nations to seek more flexible partnerships. Southeast Asia's role as a key global market is at stake. The outcome will influence the region's economic trajectory and global integration. Experts see the US-Indonesia trade saga as a lesson in the importance of clear communication and flexibility. Differing interpretations and rigid demands, like the poison pill clause, have derailed progress. The collapse may prompt both countries to seek alternative partnerships. Indonesia with ASEAN, the EU or India, the US with other regional allies. The episode underscores the need for diplomatic agility and cultural sensitivity in global trade. As economic dynamics shift, these lessons will guide future negotiations. The world is watching how both sides adapt to this setback. The near collapse of the $350 billion US-Indonesia trade deal marks a pivotal moment in global trade. The outcome will shape economic policies, political strategies, and regional dynamics for years to come. For the US, it's a test of its ability to counter China and build strategic partnerships. For Indonesia, it's a chance to reassess its trade priorities and regional role. As the world navigates these challenges, staying informed and engaged is crucial. The future of international trade depends on forging partnerships that promote shared prosperity.